Hi guys, how are you all? You all look so nice.
क्यों? We are good. आप कैसे हो?
बस बढ़िया यार. क्या संदीप, where are you off to?
I actually just came from the fair, Bhubaneswar.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, you're on mute.
Who's on mute? Me?
Anupama.
Anupama is on mute.
अच्छा.
तभी मुझे लगा मुझे इग्नोर क्यों कर रही है जानवी।
हाँ यार, आवाज ही नहीं सुनाई दी, कैसे जवाब दूं?
अच्छा मैं ऐसे ही बोलती जा रही थी। Okay. So no, because till yesterday I thought maybe you have changed the date because uh, I thought maybe because still half of the people were not available or something. So
No, I mean, I was receiving updates very late, and then just to get everything processed and things took time, na? Because
hmm.
Austrade also took a while, and then by the time they could get back, like dates were an issue and speakers are an issue, and then so yeah, but it is what it is. We have three amazing people with an amazing moderator. I'm sure it's going to be as good. And then we can always have them come and like speak at a later time. So it's okay.
Yeah.
And then in a way, this sort of will set that context. There's so much conversation that has been going on in the recent few weeks. On the study in Australia and things
Yeah.
like that. So I feel like it's good to set that ball rolling with Australia as a destination. And yeah, I mean we'll take it from there and Australia can always come and speak at a later time.
Okay, and I think it will be also be good to have a session on Canada because there are so many things happening. Every day there is a bouncer or a googly,
Yeah.
but there are still a lot of positive things that students are not aware about of. I can bring in destination expert from IDP to kind of bust some of the myths which are there. If there is an interest in the group members to understand, because there may be some students who had applied but now are thinking and the counselor they're asking questions, so I think they will be able to help. I can bring in
Yeah.
my director, client relations Canada, to speak on it, or somebody from the team. They will be able to kind of give a good overview,
Sure. So we'll
deep
definitely
info.
look at that. We'll definitely
Yeah.
look at that. Of course, like you rightly pointed out, there's a lot going on in the Canada space as well. So it's
Mm.
definitely something to explore. And of course, welcome, Shafali. Thank you for joining us. Shafali is a student of Punya's, and she has, graciously decided to be on this panel and help us out and give her perspective as a student in Australia at this point. So I feel
Okay,
that
hi Shefali.
Hello, it's an absolute pleasure, and I'm really excited for the session.
thank you for agreeing. What time is it for you, Shafali?
Oh, it's 12 a.m.
Bad.
What
And
time
which
is it out
university
there?
are you in, Shefali?
I'm in Monash.
Okay,
Okay.
lovely.
Yeah. So
But how's it going for you? Like, what do you think about all that's been going on? I'm sure you might have heard a lot of things. How does it look for you on the ground?
About what?
About in general, like the term about like most importantly has been has how has racism treated you?
Oh,
That's been
actually,
one
I've
thing.
not faced any racism at all. Maybe like Melbourne and Sydney are different that way. People in Melbourne are very warm and kind, and the culture is very hospitable, actually.
Sagar, can
Oh,
you
that's
come up there?
Australia wide. Because
Mm.
I mean, we just get that as a query because still, I mean, I think parents. I remember when I was a kid, I watched Crook as a movie, and that was about racism in Australia. So
Mm.
we still
Oh.
have a lot of parents still coming in, and they do ask these questions. But it's nice having you here, and maybe talking
No,
about that.
actually, like Australians are so emotive
Nice,
and they are so expressive, and they, culture is so rich that,
correct.
like, they speak so politely and so well, um, that way. So yeah, everything is sugar coated and sweet and nice. So like I really think it's a nice country to be in.
Yeah. And what about the job part? Like, what do you think? Are the opportunities there? Is the economy doing well according to you?
Actually, I was really lucky to already like find a very good part-time job that matches my
Right.
skills and qualification. Not everyone is
Right.
lucky. Like people have to work in Subway and aged care and nursing and whatnot. But still, I feel like once you like there is precedent still of people being able to get like proper jobs. Obviously, when you come on a student visa, there are externalities. But my personal thinking is that just block out the noise and work hard. And if you're a hard worker, then doing well in an economy like Australia is not difficult because temperamentally Australians are very um, lazy. So they value like hard workers, like Indians.
Yeah.
So I think that economy is basically running on Indian people and Chinese people.
That can be said for many countries today, I
Yeah,
think. Yeah, but
yeah.
especially true for Australia. I remember Sandeep and I when we went first time to Sydney and we thought we
Yeah.
were in China. We were all laughing because so many students who were Chinese origin, and
Yeah.
we thought, are we in Australia or
Actually,
are we in China?
statistically, if you see, highest number of students in Australia are Chinese, and second highest are Indians.
Yeah.
And Australia's economy basically runs on the education sector.
Yeah.
Guys, sorry I know
Mhm.
we are having a wonderful conversation. We can probably continue this after, but Navya has a few points before we get
Please,
started.
please.
We have
Yeah.
Sure.
7 minutes. So she just had some guidelines. We've put together certain questions and she's just going to quickly run you guys through so that we are
Hi
more
everyone.
comfortable getting into the
Hi,
session.
Navya.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Sorry, Navya. I had a question about the polls. Do you guys want to run them at the same time or you can run them at different times?
I think
There are four
same
questions.
time, but let's do it one by one.
One by one. One by one,
Yeah.
right? Okay,
So
fine.
the reason why I wanted to do it was just so that we have context. So I'll just quickly walk you through. I just sent Sagar, I just sent
Yeah,
both.
I'm just setting
Yeah.
them up. That's
Hi,
fine.
Sagar. Sorry, we
Hello.
ignored you completely.
No, that's fine.
It's just that, when you're so passionate about it, I didn't want to interrupt as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just introduce myself as well. I just got back from Delhi right now, so sorry, I was just in a mess, got late. But I'm an independent counselor based out of Chandigarh. So, just want to bring in a more perspective about, how there's a lot of questions about agents and what does the application process look like. And, I do want to mention that a lot of times, like I've had a student, let's say from Woodstock. Woodstock, maybe they don't allow external counselors, but even when you do send in an application, I remember UNSW said ki acha you need an agent, wherein we got pretty apprehensive ki acha okay should we put in our name or not, right? So there are a couple of things, but I think we'll take it literally from the basic. I'll start off by introducing TOC, and then we have questions around. Okay, so Janvi has been really nice, and I'll just share the doc.
Yeah.
But we have a couple of poll questions just so that you also know who's the audience really, what background are they all coming from, like what curriculum they're teaching, what is the biggest questions, and how familiar they are, and what have been their biggest challenges. We're going to set the tone by that. We have Australia as a study destination. Janvi, do you want to walk them through ki kaise unhe karna hai?
No, go ahead, Navya. Just go ahead. It's fine.
So I'm just gonna say maybe like a couple of these questions are इसमें बहुत सारे हैं parts, but essentially we'll cover Australia as a study destination by all three of your perspectives, and we have a couple of questions. If you want to take a picture, I can also share the doc with you as a link, and you guys can also go over it. ठीक है, and then we'll talk about the application process. Anupama, from IDP's perspective, and Sandeep from your end as a university perspective, and Shefali from you, as a student, how was your process applying? And then what about the Australia visa rejections? Shefali, in this case, I know it can get a little tricky for you, but maybe, you could talk about if you heard of some instances, what was your visa process like? Were there any supporting partners that were there? And something regarding, how you managed the documents and the requirements and everything. How well in advance did you prepare for all of that?
Okay.
Right? And then post-study work opportunities. So essentially, we're covering like 4 major topics, but essentially giving them all 3 perspectives, but covering them for 10 minutes each. And then maybe, we can all do like one key takeaway or one good advice that you all might have and cover all of that.
Sure.
Does that sound good? Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe if we do have time, then we can see that, if we have any questions, but yeah, essentially we'll try to keep it, as minimalist and, as easy to understand as possible.
And these are just the maximum questions we could come up with. I know there are a lot. We may not get through all of them. So Navya will selectively, based on even our poll questions and things, we can
Yeah.
ask questions accordingly, like if it was more about the challenges or things like that. So
Mm.
Navya will ask questions accordingly. And Sagar and I are here. We can also see if there are any interesting questions in the chat.
Coming in
We'll go
chat, yeah.
through that as well.
I'll just share the link so that, you all know what's coming next in case you have to be prepared for it.
Also, I just wanted to ask something. So, basically, like what I have felt about the Australian education system is that maybe it's not that much at par with US and like Europe and everything, but it's maybe better from the perspective of people who want to come and settle over here. So that's where you have to do like a trade-off of like settling for a less better educational system. So to what extent can we like mention this, or do we need to like build like a flowery picture that oh it's in QS rankings and Times higher education rankings like that?
I think
Honest.
be honest. It's a
Yeah.
very good point. Like be honest, because the important thing is that we're letting out all the important information. But maybe just give them an alternate way. Like, okay, if let's say it doesn't mean that, I mean, UNSW and all of these universities are getting ranked in QS rankings, but maybe what is an alternate option? What are some courses one should come for? Or what are some reasons why one should choose
But
Hmm.
I have a different perspective here, Shefali, because you have studied in India and you have studied in Australia. But
Hmm.
only you can compare only if you have yourself personally kind of experienced the education setup in UK or US or in Australia, because none of us would be in a position to compare
Yeah.
if haven't experienced both the systems,
I think
so
what we should to try and do is not make it look like it's not the suitable destination. I would just give a tip to say that from your perspective, there would have been reasons why you chose Australia and why it
Okay.
appealed for
yeah.
you over other destinations. And of course, you can always add that this is your experience as a student, and every person's or student's experience is different based on what they make of it. So that is something you can stress on, so that people don't feel like we're talking about one over the other and comparing, because I don't want people to take that necessarily as the only takeaway, because there is a larger aspect that we're trying to cover.
True.
Okay. Okay.
Agree. Yeah.
and maybe you could make that as like a comment in the end, because we don't want to keep their minds shut right in the beginning ki acha, like oh mere paas aisa bachcha nahi aata hai, right? But maybe like giving them a more open perspective.
Hmm.
Okay, guys, let's build some excitement in the group so that we can have more people join
Also,
in.
you guys she will ask you to quickly introduce yourselves also. So Navya will walk you through that. Okay.
Yeah.
It should be amazing.
Yeah.
Good luck, guys. You guys are all going to be amazing, I'm sure.
Navya,
Navya, should I let everyone in?
not right now. I think maybe let's give it another 1 or 2 minutes.
Because we're
Right?
already at 6:31. So once people start
Okay,
joining, we
let's
have
let
to
them in. Yeah,
wait
yeah.
anyway, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Sagar. Oh, sorry. Okay, we have people joining in.
Yep.
Navya, you're muted. Maybe you want to text Sagar or message him. Hi everyone, thank you for joining. Let's give it a few minutes before we get this session started.
Hi Janvi. Hi Navya.
Hi everyone.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. Are you back?
Yeah, I just got back. Literally like 30 minutes back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Up and kicking already. That's awesome.
I have to.
20s energy.
This is the season. This is the season. Not even 20s. Like this is the season.
Oh, but then, yeah. Or something else. Done. Great.
I think we'll just maybe give it another 2 minutes and wait for a couple of others. People are still joining in. Okay, I think we'll start in another minute. See if anybody else is also joining in.
Navya, I think you can start.
Perfect. Okay, so hi everyone. Although we are members of TOC, but I'll quickly introduce because I think there might be one or two who do not know about TOC. So the core mission of TOC is to unite all those involved in college guidance, university outreach, and admissions, creating a more efficient, harmonious ecosystem. As we witness transformative shifts in global higher education, particularly in regions like South Asia, TOC is committed to advancing this space by promoting innovation, ethical guidance, and collective growth. So with this mission in mind, let's dive deep into the opportunities Australia offers as a study destination. I would just want that all of our panelists introduce themselves very briefly so that we know who we're speaking with and who we're hearing from. So, Anupama, if you would like to start.
Hi everyone. My name is Anupama Ghai, and I head the Strategic Alliance portfolio at IDP. Through Strategic Alliance, so for IDP, I'm sure a lot of you know about us. We are the largest and the global leaders in the student recruitment space for international education, and also the co-owners of IELTS. Strategic Alliance, through Strategic Alliance, we are basically the outreach team of IDP and work very closely with schools and colleges and universities in India, and offering IDP services right at to the students of these institutions right at the doorstep. Kind of do end-to-end process right from IELTS to applications to offer chasing, visa support, and even accommodation and things like that. So end to end, whatever student needs for making their overseas education journey seamless and hassle free, we are there. And the cake icing on the cake is that it is free of cost. We do not charge anything from the students or the institution. So, and we are present in 77 offices located in 65 Indian cities. So that's in brief and nutshell. I think I've covered most of it. Yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me for this session.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sandeep, and then Shifa.
Sure. So I am Sandeep. I represent University of Sydney, and I work with the school engagement team. It's been good 4.5 years now, and it's just been amazing. And just to introduce about University of Sydney, we are Australia's first university. So I think that just says it all. They have taught 8 prime ministers, but most importantly, they have also taught 145 Olympians, 2 Nobel laureates, 110 Rhodes Scholars. So the list is, and the legacy is amazing. So, and the best part about Sydney that I really love is that apart from all the rankings and everything, they have 2 amazing things. One, you can design your own degree. And the second important part is that you do not need any prerequisites. So that is why I really love working for it. So I look forward to the discussion today.
Hello, everyone. At the outset, I would like to thank the Outreach Collective for inviting me. Um, I'm Shifali, and I'm currently a student at Monash University, and I'm pursuing a double master's degree in global business and regulation compliance. I also work at a local law firm in Melbourne. And prior to this, I have a 3-year work experience as a lawyer. And I think the primary reason why I'm here is that as a student currently studying in Australia, I can help everyone and guide everyone with practical on-ground realities about various questions that prospective applicants may have. Thank you.
Add that, we can get your perspective as well, which makes it all the more meaningful for all of us. Wonderful.
Navya, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me
And
now?
there's a little bit of lag, Navya. I think your
Okay,
network
perfect.
is not stable.
I will just change my internet as well. Yes. So, Sagar, if we could please launch the poll so that we can see who we're speaking with and what are some common questions. Are you all able to see the poll questions?
I
Yes.
could see one question. Was it it?
Yes, no, there are a couple of more. I would just want everybody to start answering those.
Will it come on its own, one after the other, or?
Yes, we will end it and then we'll have the other. Yep.
Okay, so far there was only one, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I could see more. All right, cool.
Okay, we're just waiting for the others to answer as well. Okay, wonderful. All right, so I think the biggest question that we have for today is understanding the application process, and then managing finances and scholarships. Wonderful. All right. So we have our next question. How familiar are you with the Australian university application process? These are anonymous, so we'd love for you to be as honest as you possibly can be. Okay, so we have somewhat and fairly familiar. Wonderful. All right. Our next question is, sorry, 1 second. All right. And what is your biggest concern about studying in Australia? I think this is quite interesting for our panelists as well to, see and maybe, for us to discuss accordingly. All right, so I will just share the results. So the biggest concern is about the visa process, the cost of education, as well as the job opportunities post-graduation. So I think we will be covering all of these very well. All right. And one last question. Okay, so what curriculum are you currently following, or what curriculum do most of your students currently follow? Right.
This could have been multiple choice actually. It's across all curriculums.
Absolutely, but we can choose maximum or whichever you have. But of course, we will be covering for all.
Can't count. Yep.
Yes. Okay, so I think we have CBSE as the most, and then followed by ICSE and IB. Wonderful. So I think, with this set in stone for all of us, and with us having this background, I think let's start. We'll first explore Australia as a study destination, and I want to invite Anupama from IDP to maybe shed some light on what are some trends that you are seeing in the interest of Indian students studying in Australia, and how does Australia's education system compare to other study destinations like US and the UK?
Hi everyone. I think the Australia has always been probably the third, most preferred study destination for Indian students, and I think that's not because of what Australia offers, but also because of the legacy of US and UK. We've had a lot of our people, students currently who would have some relative or the other in either UK or US, and it makes it kind of students from their schools and colleges who are alumni of some university or the colleges in UK and US. So, but recently we have seen that Australia is really, picking up. The interest in the students is really growing because more and more information is available for the students to really kind of, compare the cost of living, the living standards, the kind of, the cultural, compatibility for students who are interested in overseas education. And also, I think the economy, the stability of the economy and the job prospects also play a very, very important role. And Australia having a very robust economy, they haven't seen a recession in the last more than 35 years. So I think that is, and more students are becoming aware of these things. And I think I'll just like to mention one more point here about there are, about 9 or 7 of the top most, the best cities in the world are in Australia. So I think students are looking at a lot of factors these days. They are not just interested in the quality of education, which, by the way, Australia offers great quality of education, but also what are the opportunities available for them to relocate, to immigrate, the job prospects, the quality of life, the standard of living, and all those things, I think, play a very important part. And Australia does, rank pretty high on all these factors. In fact, IDP does an annual survey with students, and this year I think we had about 6,000 students participating in the survey, and all those, out of those 6,000, 4,000 were Indian students, and they really kind of talked a lot about the quality of education, the kind of opportunities that they got, the experiential or work related learning opportunities that they get on the campus. They rated all the universities that they're studying in very high, at a high level. So since we are primarily an Australian company, we are listed on Australian Stock Exchange. Australia is the biggest destination for us after Canada. So Canada has always been in sheer numbers, because, and it is not, it's also because, the number of universities in Australia is just about 42. Am I right, Sandeep? 42 or 45? 42. And compare it with US, there are more than 4,000, and UK would have also quite a large number of universities. So if you kind of compare, I think Australia, if we kind of use how do I say it, comparable, this thing, number of universities vis-a-vis the countries that we are talking about, Australia would be maybe quite high on the ranking. Yeah. So yes, interest is really increasing in the past couple of years. We have seen a lot of interest, especially in the even the undergraduate students, not just the postgraduate.
That's
And I'm sure Sandeep can add something here.
That's a very interesting perspective that I feel, we hadn't heard of before. But before we move to Sandeep, I also want to compare it with what a student's view is who's currently studying. Shefali, if you could tell us about, as an Indian student, what motivated you to choose Australia over other countries? And what were your initial perceptions of studying in Australia, and how have they changed?
Actually, to be really honest, for me, it was my childhood dream to live overseas. And when I started navigating my application process, I also saw it from an academic perspective, and I wanted to do something that connects both business and law. And for me, Australia was an easy choice because Australia had these unique double masters degrees, which sort of encouraged me to choose Australia over any other, like Canada, US, UK didn't have such degrees. So one was that reason. Secondly, I also saw it from a long-term post-study work experience perspective and from an immigration perspective. So the post-study visa extends up to 3 years, which is very high as compared to other countries. So that was another encouraging factor that, sort of led me to choose Australia. And then in terms of available work opportunities, it's important to understand that Australia is very sparsely populated, and it is growing. It is like a developed economy, and it is growing at a very fast pace, and hence the need for skilled personnel is essential over here. So just like the macroeconomics of it is such that as opposed to the US or to the UK, their immigration policies, etc., it is more likely that in Australia, the immigration policies will be more accepting of international students. Also, like like the work culture over here is it's very comfortable, it's very nice. Because if you see like
Shefali, you went on mute.
so like Australia has the highest minimum wage as compared to other countries. So even like a basic minimum wage will allow you to have a high standard of living over here. So yeah, just like all of these factors sort of made the choice easy for me to sort of come to Australia. And also, like another point I'd like to mention is that if you see the QS rankings, like they use a lot of metrics, like the kind of research that a university is producing, the kind of employability skills that a university is incorporating in its students to sort of give the rankings. So if you see like Harvard or Oxford, they would use like metrics like the academic research, they would focus more on that. But Australian universities, they focus on developing employability skills, and that is how their education system is sort of structured and developed. And I thought that at that point in my career and at that juncture in my career, that is something that I needed over like academic, focus. So yeah, these were some of the factors that, like made the choice of Australia sort of final for me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I think it's good to hear about that. Sandeep, if you could talk about, what does the diversity of international students in Australia and how Indian students integrate into the campus environment, from a more university perspective.
Honestly, I mean, Australia hosts around 480,000 students from more than 100 countries, with Indian students making a very significant share there. And with Sydney perspective, I mean, we have 82,000 students on the campus. So it's very culturally diverse. Sydney, as an initiative, has introduced Sydney International Student Award, wherein students from diverse countries can actually apply, and if they do, they get 20% tuition fee discount. So from that perspective, I mean, I just saw the poll rates. So finance and scholarship was one, so I thought I'll just mention that there. But University of Sydney and Australia in general, I'm sure Shifali would probably back me up on that. But inclusivity through cultural clubs, mentorship programs is something that is very, very important in Australian universities. With Sydney in itself, they have close to I'm sorry, 260 clubs and societies, which is pretty big. And the best part is, if you don't find your fit, you can actually create your own. So it's really amazing. And the good part about Indian students is that we really excel in leadership roles or academic collaboration. So we really, really are amazing when it comes to diversity on the campus and in general in Australia as well.
So just to, if I can just add one more thing, what Sandeep said about, because I also saw this question on scholarships and the others. So University of Sydney, for example, he gave an example of University of Sydney, 20% tuition fee reduction. There are many universities like UQ, UNSW, and some others who are giving about 20 to 25% of fee reduction to Indian students specifically. So there are a lot of opportunities available as far as finances and scholarships are concerned, and there are various kinds. If you have questions around scholarships later, I'll stop myself here. Otherwise, I can go on.
Absolutely. I think we should definitely take this up, but I think in terms of understanding Australia as a destination, it does mean that, they want more students there and they are promoting more international students by offering these.
Yes. Yes.
Wonderful. So, Anava, I just have a question for you about, if we get to the application process as an international students, so how can students ensure that, they're choosing the right university course? And are there any particular tips you would offer for Indian students who are applying through maybe non-traditional education systems like IB, Cambridge, and I think I would even want you to touch upon CBSE and ICSE.
So when I think the factors which whether it is Australia or UK or US, I think the factors remain something similar. When what kind of courses that you should be looking for. For example, Many countries, including Australia, they come up. So because they are all very immigration friendly country, be it Canada or India or Ireland or whatever. But but they also they are immigration friendly, but they also need skilled workforce, right? But they need the skills of this workforce to align with their current needs. So every year, all of these countries also release a list of the skills required in the country. So what kind of job opportunities are available? So if the students choose a course which is aligned to the skill requirement of the particular country that they are choosing, here I'm talking about Australia, then the chances of these students getting employment in the same sector that they have studied in are very, very high. But what happens is the students from India, especially, there is a lot of peer pressure, or I would say influence of the peers, that my friend is going to do international business, so I would also love to go there. But and we've seen business, international business, or these courses are very, very high in demand. I'm sure Sandeep can also give some data here. So but we really have to see if all of the student, half of the student are just going to do the business program or are going for international business, how many of them would find a job suitable or aligned to their skill set. So then obviously they have to choose or shift to a different kind of sector. So I think the first thing students should look at, and this information is available publicly, it's there on the website. They should look at what is the requirement of the country. If I am looking at Australia, because I've seen other factors like the economy, the stability, the standard of living, the friendliness of the country, the post-study work rights, which Shefali mentioned. So if I have that zeroed in on Australia, I should then look at what is it. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying that if I am an engineering student, I should look for a course which is completely not aligned to my education. But within that stream of my study area, I should look at what are the skill shortages, or what are the employment opportunities, in which area of engineering the employment opportunities are available, and then kind of look for those kind of courses. Similarly, another thing, we all talk about the VUCA world. The world is changing. Current jobs are not going to be, they're going to be redundant in the next 5-7 years. We should look at or encourage our students to look at the courses which are kind of making you a little bit of future proof or future ready, to be very honest. So like Sandeep mentioned, Australia gives a very unique opportunity to the students to combine or literally create your own degree. Like you can you don't really have to be looking at a particular stream. You could pick up 2 or 3 different majors or minors from different streams of or areas of study to really make your degree very, very kind of compelling for the employers. For example, if you are choosing I don't know, maybe I can't think of an example right here, but this is how you really need to kind of navigate that. And these are some of the factors which are at the top of my mind. Whenever I talk to a student or somebody, I always talk of these things. Did you have another point in the question? If I'm missing, I can answer.
I think maybe just, what are some things? I think one of the biggest question that I feel, I'll rephrase my question, is the second part, which is CBSE, IB, Cambridge, ICSE, they all have different examination timings and results coming out. And, Australia has a different intake than all other countries. So which students should apply for which intake, and how does that all work?
So I think the fall intake is normally the students go for, though there is a spring intake also, which starts in February. And there is also another unique advantage of applying to Australian universities is that they give you conditional offer letters. So even if you haven't completed your degree or you haven't completed your grade 12, you can still apply and with your IELTS score or your basic, and for IB and Cambridge, the predicted scores are also accepted. Many universities in Australia also accept CBSE predicted scores. Maybe University of Sydney doesn't, if I remember correctly. But there are many universities which also accept CBSE predicted scores. But again, it really, because even CBSE, the results are out by May mid, right? So if you have already submitted your applications, you have received your offer letter and, conditional offer, the only thing that you need to submit now is your final score, which is out by May end or May mid. And then you just need to get a proper offer. And once you pay the fee, you get a electronic a confirmation of enrollment, and you are set to go.
Absolutely. So this has been helpful. I think now we'll move to Sandeep to, maybe talk about, now that we know how do we select the right college and the right course. Sandeep, I do want you to touch upon what Anupama just mentioned, that, how
Okay.
can we make our own degree?
Mhm.
That's something very exciting to, ensure that, people get jobs there, which is a question that a lot of people have. And also, what does the application process really look like? Where do we start? Because we have counselors in the room. How do we
Yeah.
start supporting Australian university applications?
I just do that. I hope it's okay if I share my screen.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you. So what I try to do is just make things easier for you. I mean, generally when we talk about Australian education and the counselors that we generally get on TLC group and the questions that we have, believe me, whenever you have any question, let's say if you want to just say application process, use it, and you're just talking about University of Sydney, you just Google it and you get it right there. So everything is just there if you use the right keywords. But starting from the part how to choose your degree, I'll start with that. Like, how do Sydney, for an example, makes it a diverse option? When you generally talk about the US or maybe let's say the UK or Canada, the one part is that you have to choose a major and a minor. With UK, it's like you choose these specialized degrees. With Sydney, the unique advantage is you can do dual majors and still complete your degree in 3 years. So that's one major part, and the example is right here in front of you. I want to start with the admission requirements first. And if you will see, one major question for everybody has been, what is ATAR and how do we convert it to an Indian score? So you don't have to. That's the best thing. You do not have to convert to ATAR. All you need to do is find your qualification. Like I'm just doing it for Sydney. Happy to take another example, maybe let's say of Melbourne or Monash. But if you type it for CBSE, you get the score right here. You don't have to convert. And you just see the requirements right here. So for CBSE, best 5 subjects, you just add them together and then that's it. Likewise, if you want to talk about IB as Anupama mentioned. So this is IB for you, and this is 37. Now, if you talk about a predicted score, every university will have a different set of requirements. Like for University of Sydney, we need your predicted scores to be issued in January of the year that the student is looking to commence their studies in, which is very different because a lot of counselors and schools end up issuing their predicted scores in October. And whenever the predicted are coming in, they are still getting conditional offer. And we get that as a question, why my offer is not unconditional. Specifically, when it comes to Sydney, the reason is because the predicteds are not issued in January. And the second part, our predicted score requirement is 3 points higher than the original requirement. It will change from university to university. So if you ever have any question, reach out to the university representatives, reach out to IDP for that matter, if they are your agents, so that you have the right information right at the behest. So that would be one. All the information is right there. For Sydney, we do not accept predicted for CBSE, HSC, and ISC. The reason we accept it for IB and for A levels, May exam series, is because the results come out late. So that is one major challenge. And given the recent updates, you might have heard about Australia's CAP system that has come in. What that has done is, if you will try to run the numbers from past 1 year, the numbers haven't changed as much, at least for top universities up there. So that's never a challenge. The only thing is that students have now started accepting their offers as early as possible. So again, that is one thing with Sydney, wherein if you do not have your CBSE scores available, you may choose to submit your SAT scores. And as counselors, you can issue them a completion letter which says that they will be completing their high school in May after their results are available. Again, the template may differ from university to university, but with Sydney, the students can actually get an unconditional offer basis their SAT or ACT scores if they meet those requirements, and they are right there with you. Now, talking about the course structure, just to give you an idea, let's say if somebody is applying for commerce, generally we expect them to study business courses, which are right listed in front of you. What if the student also wants to study psychology with, let's say, a marketing major? All they have to do is choose a second major from here, which is called shared pool at University of Sydney. So you can choose, I think, from amongst 146 majors. So that is how you get to design your degree. And if I may, I just try to show you the sample course plan, not to make it very confusing, but this is what it looks like. So I hope it gives you a very tentative idea in terms of what the application process is and how are the course something which you can really change. And the best part is, let's say, I mean, major challenge for people is it that you can drop out of a major and add another one? You can. Like Sydney, if you're applying for arts, you want to switch to science, you can do that after your first semester. I mean, you can do that later as well, but then that might mean that you have to cover the units. So that's the important part. The best, like the only hacks from this would be Google it. It's right there. Use the right keywords.
So
And
Sandeep, yeah, go for it, go for it.
oh, just addressing Anjali's question. It's easy. I mean, like I was working in admissions before. I have seen how that works. It's technically like a click. It's just that you have to be little aware of how you're switching your majors and minors. Like imagine somebody starting with a software engineering degree, now wants to switch to, let's say, something like electrical. So if there are any computer science units, you get credits transferred as well. But you have missed out on certain units, so you will have to cover that. So as early if you transfer, the better. I hope I was able to answer, but it's like just a click of a button and it does get transferred.
So this is just for University of Sydney, or is this true for others as well?
According to me, it is true for other universities as well, until and unless they are choosing to go for a program which offers them that flexibility. So, for an example, if you apply from engineering, which is a software engineering course, and you want to switch to business altogether, which is like, let's say, banking, very different again. Can you switch the degrees? Yes. Can you get credits for engineering right into your commerce? No. So I hope I was able to
Yeah.
answer that.
Absolutely. The credits have to be transferable to some extent. Yes.
Yeah.
And I
No,
think
I mean, you can still switch, but you will not be able to carry the credits to the other scores if there is no correlation or matching.
which
Yeah,
also
that's what
depends
Sandeep
the
was
number
saying.
of years at your degree, right?
Yes,
To complete.
yes.
Absolutely. Okay. And do all universities, because this came up in the chat in TOC as well, do all universities require applications to be submitted through agents? And how do we spot that well in advance?
Okay, can I answer that, Sandeep?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So no, so it is not mandatory to submit the applications through agents, but there is a process called GT. There's a new name for it now, Sandeep. What is it called?
Genuine student.
Yeah. So
Genuine student test.
genuine to GST, right?
GS test. Yeah.
GSS. So this is a mandatory process, which is a prerequisite to kind of ensure and ascertain that the student is a genuine student, right? So there are a lot of document verifications that needs to be done. There are a lot of other, checks and balances that they have put in. So there are basically a checklist which most of the admission people will look at. And all the authorized agents who work with Australian universities are pretty, because they are doing it day in and day out. So they are pretty good with all this, right? And if there is something missing, they can immediately kind of, tell the student that, this is something missing. So please make this document available. Otherwise, there are chances that your application may not get accepted. And another thing that is, I think the visa has to be lodged by, authorized agent, because there are certain regulations around it. And it is only to kind of, cut down on the non-genuine students entering the countries. So it is So we know all countries are now focusing on quality. So they are coming up with different processes. And GT earlier, now GSS has always been there in Australia. So they've just kind of made it more robust, a little more, stringent to be able to weed out the non-genuine students from entering the country. So in that case, the agents are the best suited people to help you with the application process and also the visa lodgements.
Absolutely. This is wonderful, and I'm loving that, people are asking questions in the chat as well. So we'll keep that going, but we will first shift to Shefali because I want to understand her perspective. What was your process and what was your experience of applying to Monash, and any challenges that you faced, and what resources or guidance did you use to ensure a smooth application process?
To be really honest, my biggest challenge was choosing a course, and
Your voice is cracking, Shefali.
Yeah.
is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. So my biggest challenge was actually choosing a course. And for me personally, like because it is such a big financial investment, I wanted to be really clear that this is the course that I want to do. And a lot of like research went into that. And obviously my counselors, edu coach, like put in a lot of effort and research in that. And then beyond that, it was just um like my like making the statement of purpose and getting the LOR ready. Yeah, which is basically like tailoring your entire story and communicating it um in a nice manner that's pleasing to read. And obviously you are able to tell your story the best, but um like education consultants like IDP, EduCoach are so experienced because they do it day in, day out, that they know that, like what exactly is it that, universities require. So, like the most quintessential thing I think is to get guidance of an educational consultant, because otherwise you would be absolutely lost. um and yeah, like beyond choosing my course, everything was easy because my consultants made it so easy for me. Like they give me like checklists and like what documents I need to procure and everything for my visa and to make the applications, and they sort of liaised with the universities. So it was a very smooth sailing process for me because I had the right guidance.
Absolutely. And I think Australian university applications are fairly simple, but of course, having somebody is just tricky with university to university and to understand the courses. But of course, having someone by your side can definitely help.
Yeah, true.
I think now that we have some clarity on, what the application process looks like, let's decode, navigating the rejections of the visa that I think a lot of students fear while they are applying. So, Anupama, we'll start with you. So, what are the most common reasons for visa rejections among Indian students who are applying to Australia?
So the most common reasons are the documents, the proper documents not being in place. Okay. Sometimes I've seen, very simple things like, the ITRs or the financial documents. Major this thing happens is financial documents where students take it a little casual. There are certain, guidelines that, you have to show a particular income so that the visa officers are convinced that you are financially capable to take care of your expenses when you are in the country. But if you're I've seen, you are, because in India it's lot that people would have a lot of money, but their ITRs would be very small. So, and and what happens is that they just at the last minute they would probably put in a lot of money in the bank and think that, okay, I have shown the amount that is required. So financial documents which are not proper as per the guidelines is the most common reason. And then very simple, sometimes very simple mistakes. For example, the address, obviously passport is the most important document for you, and sometimes I've seen there is a little bit of a mismatch in the actual passport and the academic documents that are there. Even if there is a name difference in a particular alphabet in the name, that could also cause, these are very simple small mistakes sometimes that happen. And these days, if your application and because there is always, I mentioned that there is, every country is looking to cut down on non-genuine students. So the visa officers do not have that much of time. If they see a very small error, they do not find it worth their efforts to send it back, ask a query, and ask you to resubmit and all that, because they have hundreds of other applications. And if they have a quota of approving X number of applications, they would find a lot many more, right? So we have to be, that is why when somebody asked me, is it important to go through an agent, I think it helps. I'm not saying that you cannot go on your own or you should not, but it always helps because there is if there is an English teacher, for example, checking. If I was an English teacher for 3 years, now if I look at a document, my first thing is finding, my eye goes directly to that place where there is an error. So similarly, the people who are doing this, filing and lodging visas every day, would find a simple mistake very quickly, and it kind of really helps to go through them. I think these are very, very common simple mistakes which can be easily avoided. And obviously there are other reasons, which are fraudulent documents. Your degrees are not correct, they're fake. Obviously those people deserve to be rejected, in my opinion. Sandeep, would you like to add any, if you have any other points?
The best thing that I can probably add is that Australian universities are very students focused. If students want to apply directly, there are certain universities which accept direct applications. But the point of having agents is to ensure that students feel supported throughout the journey. Coming from a perspective of somebody who's in 12th grade, imagine the kind of pressure they are in. They have to submit so many applications all across, and then submitting their documents on time, and then their own examinations again, preparing for IELTS, TOEFL, everything is out there. So agents really play an important part in this, and they are really important stakeholders from that perspective. So I think if you apply, great. The important aspect, according to me, and this is very individual in nature, please ensure that you're keeping a tab on the offers that you're getting. And if you have any follow-up questions, ask your agents. Believe me, nobody gets offended if you ask them questions. And in case you have any follow-up questions, and if you feel there is certain delay, reach out to your school counselors. They are very well connected with the university representative. So the ecosystem is absolutely very supportive. So just do not shy away from asking questions whenever. That is the only thing that I would want to add.
Absolutely. And I think, Sandeep, you pretty much answered, from a university perspective, what to look at. But just to add on to it, Anupama, you mentioned that the financial documents that people suddenly put the money, and this is very common, not just for Australia, but for other countries as well, when we're applying for US, UK. So how much time does Australian, visas need? कितनी देर के लिए, be it 3 months, 6 months, and how much should the amount be? 1 year of tuition fees plus 1 year living. What does that look like?
So I think the tuition fee you have to submit. I think some universities ask for 1 year tuition fee. Some universities are happy with 1 semester fee as well. but you have to show that you will be able to cover your living expenses for 1 year. So you have to show that much of amount in your bank accounts. But also the more and more, because of these fraudulent documents and a lot of non-genuine cases, the visa officers also look at what is the source of your income, or what is the source of that money that you're showing in your bank account. If you are not able to support that income source through your ITRs or other documentation, then there is a problem. What happens is that because in India we have this system of showing lesser income than we actually are making, right? So these are the issues that many students face, that their parents do not have the kind of adequate ITRs submitted. But there are also other ways to cover for example, if you have assets, you have land, you have other what you call fixed assets, that can also be used to show your wealth and all that. But again, these documents need to be really genuine, and also parents, your own, who's funding your education, that also has to be very, very clear. For example, if you're saying, some distant relative who may have a hefty ITR submitted that he's sponsoring, so maybe then there will be questions, right? So you really have to be very clear on who's funding your education, how you're related to that person, and you have to show 1 year's living expenses plus the tuition fee that you have paid. Yeah, these are very important.
Just one thing, just sharing a document checklist tool for you. So like in case you are trying to apply for a certain university, just want to understand the documents, feel free to just go out and see. I hope that's
Yeah.
helpful.
Thanks, Sandeep.
This is helpful. Shefali, how did you ensure that your visa application was strong enough to get approved? How was that process of getting all the documents together?
I think there's a chartered accountant supporting certificate that is required to be given, along with the financial documents. I think that is one essential document that um, is required to be put before, being submitted to the authorities, which helps in increasing the veracity of the documentation. But yeah, I remember I was just given a checklist like ITRs and the CA certificate and that genuine genuine temporary entrant, whatever that visa, where I had to fill in certain information showing that like I have significant financial strength to be able to support myself. So yeah, like just like answering all those questions and doing all of that in time. I'm also really well traveled, so like it was fine and easy for me. But I've noticed that a lot of people like get rejections because their uh, um, application is very like a prima facie not genuine. Like there are people who apply to like fake universities over here, like that don't exist. So I think it's in those cases that the visa gets rejected. But as long as you have like a genuine COE and um, you're able to show your financial strength, um, visas do get granted. But one thing I'd like to mention is that the processing time is at least 90 days. A lot of people like apply late for the visa, and as a consequence of which they are not able to join in time. So one essential thing is to pay your fees in time and get your COE in time, because it's not that like once you get the acceptance, you can just hold up the process and like delay your visa application. It's important to pay your fees and get your COE, because that is a document that the visa authorities need. And you need to keep a provision of like 3 months for your this thing to get
Thanks
processed.
for adding, Shefali. Yeah, that's a very important point, because your visa rejections will happen when you're very close to the date, or your course has already started and you do not have enough time to start on time. And I think that is one more reason for visa rejections. Thanks for adding, Shafali. Yeah.
Totally, that has been helpful. I do know that we're just left with 5 more minutes, but I want to make sure that we're covering another important topic, which is what do the post-study work rights look like? So Anupama and Sandeep, if you could just talk about, Anupama, from your end, I'm looking to understand how can students maximize their chances of securing a post-study work visa in Australia? Maybe what are some courses they should look at and things like that. And Sandeep, from a university perspective, how does your university help their international students prepare for the Australian job market?
Okay. So I'll go first. So see, post-study work right is a given. So there is up to I think now there is up to 6 years of post-study work right, depending on which region you choose to go to, or which province or state you choose to go to. So there are regional areas where population is less, their economies are thriving, but they need people and skilled labor, a skilled workforce to kind of help them steer that economy. So they offer more number of years, but in the most popular destinations like Sydney and Melbourne, which is New South Wales and Victoria's and the others, they give up to 3 years post study work right. And I have mentioned earlier also, students should definitely look at the job, what are the skills required in the current job market, and then they should choose the course which prepares them to be able to work in those sectors, which kind of enhances their chances of getting a well-paying and stable job in the market. So these are the two things that I would like to talk about. So there can be up to 6 years, depending on whether you are an undergraduate student or a postgraduate student or a doctoral student for doing PhDs. And regional areas give more, 4 years, 5 years, and up to 6 years. And the NSW Victoria's, they give up to 3 years, if I'm not wrong. Yeah.
Yep. This is great.
Just one point to add to that is that a lot of people, what they do is it's essential to choose a course that comes in the skill shortage list, because if you because once you do that course and you get a fast tracked PR, then also you can do a course of your choice that will be
Later on.
sponsored by the government, because you will become a permanent resident. So so that's also a factor to be kept in mind, that it does not mean that it's your permanent career. It's just a pathway.
Interesting point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting point, Shafali.
Yes,
The,
Sandeep.
I mean, the only thing that I would really want to add is the recent agreement that happened between India and Australia, and that's called ECTA agreement. The best part about that is if you are doing a degree which is approved, I'll try to find the link and share it with you in the chat. But if you're doing an approved degree at an undergraduate or at a master's level, you get post-study work permit of extended 2 years. So for an example, if it's for bachelor students for 2 years, then you get extended post-study work permit of 2 years more. That makes it 4 years in total. And for masters from 3, it becomes 5. So that's under ECTA agreement. The details are right there. I'll try to find the link of the degrees and share it with you. So from a job employability perspective, as Shifali said, it's really out there. But you really need to network very well, right from the start of your degree. And to the question, I hope I'm able to answer that. Navya, please correct me if I miss out on it. But when you talk about graduate employability, the most important aspect for all the Australian degrees that I've spoken with is that all their programs are designed in such a manner that you have work integrated learning incorporated within your degree. Now, like coming from a Sydney part, like if you are enrolling in Bachelor of Commerce, like there is a program called Job Smart Edge wherein you can enroll parallelly. It's free of cost, but after completing every phase of it, you get to do a consulting project. What it does is it does not only provide you internship, it provides you experience. It provides you experience to work with Australian people in there, and most importantly, you get that work experience so that people right there understand that how the things are working. Again, if you're talking from an engineering perspective, we have something we call as a professional engagement program. You have to work for around 600 hours in your degree so that you can even receive your degree. So work is in such an amazing way incorporated within the degrees that by the time the students graduate, whichever degree they are doing, and they are employable. And when we talk about work integrated learning, it just does not mean internship. It's so much bigger than that. You talk about attending guest lectures, you talk about site visits. I have had students who have actually worked in McDonald's and still claimed credits for it towards their engineering degree, because we also feel that, just having that technical skill set is not important, especially since post COVID. You need to be very, very empathic towards your employees in general, if you're an employer. So what they're looking for is to ensure you're not just technically sound, but you do have a leadership skill set as well. We wrongly call it soft skills, but if you have all that mindset, and you have not just studied during your time in Australia, but you have really upskilled yourself, I think getting a job not just in Australia but anywhere across the world should not be tough. So I hope at large I'm able to cover all this, but if any follow-up question is there, I'm happy to take that up.
Absolutely. This is great and this is good to learn. Um, Before I move on to Shafali, I would just want to request everyone to, DM their or at least type their questions so we can take it up right after this. So Shafali, my last question for you is, what has been your experience in finding internships and jobs as an international student? Any particular instance you'd like to share?
So, yeah, I have a bunch of points in this. So, first of all, LinkedIn is as opposed to India, over here, LinkedIn is a very efficient and effective tool. If there is a culture of organizing informational interviews with people in who are in similar positions as where you would like to be. So when a student comes here, there are like lots of workshops. Like in Monash, there is Career Connect. They sort of guide you. They tell you a lot of algorithms and tools that you can use to find people and connect with them, what industries you're supposed to look at, what search filters you're supposed to use. Like university career connects usually are able to provide guidance. I did multiple one-on-one sessions and consults, which really helped me. But aside from that, there are websites which students can look at. Placements do not have to be university sourced. You can do it yourself as well. So there are websites like Seek and Indeed and Glassdoor, which are commonly, used over here. Obviously, when you come as an international student and you have a 24-hour work limitation, um, it's a little difficult also for an employer to sort of accommodate that kind of restriction. So you will receive a lot of cold responses and rejections, but everyone finds a job. It's absolutely possible. It may be a little like a difficult journey, but you have to, keep at it, and you people do end up finding jobs. It's not uncommon or impossible. So that's there. And plus, like I know about Monash, and I can say about UCID and UNSW and Uni Melbourne. Um, they have industry placement projects, or like it's integrated in the course, industry experience program. So there are also university sourced placements. Then for organizations like EY and McKinsey and all of these big companies, there's something known as vacation programs, and they have a very transparent process of selection, like especially such companies that have like corporate sustainability answerabilities, like Grant Thornton and these big six, whatever, they do not discriminate on the basis of your visa status. So that is also like a great option to look at, like Capgemini, these kind of companies. So all in all, people do find jobs and it's very much possible. And there are a lot of like avenues and resources. I think it's important to keep a lookout at the skills that they need and sort of work towards upskilling yourself in that direction and not get disheartened by rejections, which are really normal, and keep at it.
Wonderful. And I think, it just brings the entire conversation together wherein, you could say that Anupama started by mentioning how you can add the degrees, but all you have to look at is what is missing out there, the skill gap, and then sort of cover it through your degree, make it more holistic and see what can really be used and make a good future for yourself. So thank you so much. I think this has been an interesting round of discussion, right from, choosing Australia as a destination to, finally graduating with success and having a job lined up. We'll take two questions. I think scholarships is an interesting thing that we haven't covered. So, and we did, Sandeep, you did start off by saying, so we have 5 minutes, and I think,
Sure.
we can take that up. Yep.
So I'll try to make it very Australia specific. We have merit-based scholarships. That's like the starting point. So Australia in general does not require LORs. They do not require statement of purposes. But they do have scholarship applications, and there are various scholarships for various universities. Just to give you an idea about Sydney, the Sydney International Student Award, this is the diversity one that I'd initially mentioned. It's purely essay based. Likewise, I believe University of New South Wales still offers 15%. And I think that if you're applying, I'm sure Anupama will probably be able to add to that, but feel free to reach out to the universities themselves and they'll be able to help you with it. But there are few just essay-based scholarships, and then mostly there are merit-based scholarships. Like at Sydney, if you'll see, we have Sydney International Undergraduate Academic Excellence Scholarship, which is a full tuition scholarship for undergraduate students. What we are looking for is amazing marks. Like if you're talking from a CBSE perspective, anything above 90, IB, anything above 40, A levels, hopefully all A's and a couple of A stars, I think would really help. HSCs, ISCs, 90, 95% should really help again. But not just that, also your essays which accompany those marks is something which is very important. So those are your times to shine. And I can't emphasize enough, please work with the school counselors and your independent education counselors on it, because students have this tendency to at times submit the applications for scholarships at least without sometimes getting it ref checked with their counselors, because they have a lot to add and they have like literally assisted people for Harvard, Oxford, so they are really in touch with what up with the market. So taking their feedback would really help. So I think scholarships range from 20% to 100% in a nutshell. Just reach out to universities, do your research, and the most important part, please and please reach out to scholarships department. They do respond. Like for Sydney, if you respond like email to us, my idea is to reply to you within the same day itself if it comes to me at that day. So please ensure that you're reaching out to universities or you're doing your research on the websites. Everything is literally right there. So I hope it helps.
I'll just add, what Sandeep has mentioned from Sydney. There are student awards, there are, merit-based scholarships. There are also course-specific scholarships. For example, certain faculties would have their own, kind of a corpus of the scholarship money that they want to give, and for those you don't even have to apply sometimes. Then there you can also apply for bursaries at the time of the applications, or even when you are there at the university and you are in need of money, and you can apply for those. Then there is something called Destination Australia Regional. Now this is a program to attract and support international and domestic students to study in regional Australia. and you can get up to 15,000 Australian dollars as scholarship. So there are various university scholarships, then there are various Australian government scholarships, and there are various state governments in Australia who are giving scholarships to attract talent from various countries. But there are also some, especially for Indian students, there are a lot of Indian scholarships as well. Indian governments, state governments are giving scholarships to students to study abroad in kind of good universities and all. So you should look at what are the kind of scholarships that Indian state governments are giving to the students, because we are helping a lot of students from Rajasthan to use these scholarships to apply to foreign universities and all that. So there are various ways and means, even if you do not have the financial capability, but you are a deserving candidate, you will find a lot of these, kind of financial, supports from there. IDP also can give you scholarships. Just reach out to me. I've given my number and my mail ID there. We have a program where we would be able to help some students, give some scholarships and all that. Yeah. And various other interesting value propositions. Yeah.
Wonderful. I think this is amazing. So we have one last question. Indian government scholarships are primarily for masters. Is that not the case?
No, it is not. There are government scholarships for undergrad students as well. So they keep on changing. Where there are a lot of governments which give. But see, each state government has their priority. For example, if I think about Maharashtra, they have scholarships for backward students and SC/ST category students. Some states would kind of look at girl students. So it's again, they based on their theme and priorities, they have different scholarships that every government gives. In every Indian state government gives scholarships to deserving students. Just look for that or otherwise reach out to IDP. We will help you. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay, I mean, thank you everyone. You guys are the last ones standing, ready to get all the information. If we could all just switch on our videos, maybe get a nice group picture after we've taken all the information in. It's nice to be able to put a face. Wonderful.
Just tell me when you're clicking, otherwise my face always looks.
Okay.
I want my smile
I'm
to.
gonna wait for a couple more to be able to switch on their pictures.
Hi Nidhi,
Yeah.
nice seeing you here. Hi Anu. Hi Kavita.
I can see everybody's literally on their
Hi
evening.
Supriya.
Wonderful.
Hey,
All right.
Siddhant.
I'm gonna take a picture
Hi
now.
Puneet.
Smile,
Hi
everyone.
Neeraj.
Smile, everyone.
Sudhi. Smile.
Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone. Just before we end this, if all the panelists, thank you so much for taking out, during this festive season, taking out the time to, speak with everyone and guiding us. If you could just share your email addresses in case anybody has any questions, maybe in the chat box. I
I've
think that
already done that. Yeah. My phone number and my mail ID is there. I'll be happy to answer any further questions that you may have.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining. Bye-bye. Have a nice day. Happy Diwali, everyone, in advance.
Navya, you really did it amazingly well, and thank you for
Thank
everybody for
you.
organizing this.
Yeah.
Shefali,
Thanks,
it's
Janvi, for
already 1, I
inviting
think.
us.
Such a good session, Navya. You moderated so well, and it was really nice, like meeting all of you
Yeah.
actually.
And
Thank
Shefali, it's 1 a.m. Thank you so much for your dedication.
Good night, Shefali.
Excellent session, guys. Thank you.
Great. So thanks, Anupama.
Shefali, have some
Navya.
matcha and go off to sleep now.
Hi, Punya. Nice to
Hi,
see you.
Anupama.
Yeah. We are connected on LinkedIn, but good to see you on the
As
call.
Shefali said, LinkedIn in India is not as effective as